Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. The Eric Fleming mystery is finally solved and it's not good. Eric Fleming was born Edward Hetty Jr. on July 4, 1925 in Santa Paula, California. Fleming's early years were really tough. He was born into a crazy and mean home, and he went through scary things that would hurt him forever, both on his body and in his heart. His father was really mean and hurt him badly, and when he was just 8 years old, young Edward tried to run away from his painful home life. He ended up living on the streets of Los Angeles, living like a homeless person and taking care of himself in the city's worst areas. He did any work he could find to stay alive, like cleaning shoes and working in local stores. His hard times kept going when he became a teenager, and he went down a bad path. He started hanging out with gangs and ended up getting in trouble with the police. A bad accident with a gun hurt his face really badly, and he needed many surgeries to fix it. Fleming later said this was when his life changed. After having surgery to fix his face, and one time having a surgery that didn't work that made him look weird for a while, he started to think about changing his life. This painful time made him want to change completely, and it gave him the desire to try a new, better life. Looking for order and something to believe in, Fleming joined the U.S. Navy during World War II. He did a great job, becoming a petty officer and going to fight in the South Pacific. His time in the Navy taught him to be strong, honest and friendly, things that would later show up in his most famous acting jobs. After leaving the military with honor, he came back to the United States wanting to make himself smarter and better at art. He started working as a worker at Paramount Studios, and Fleming's tough looks and quiet strength got the attention of people who picked actors. Has started taking acting classes and later studied with good teachers who helped him get better at acting. Fleming started getting small parts in movies and TV shows during the 1950s, including shows like Bonanza, The Silent Service, and Studio One. Even though these parts were small, they started to build up to what would become his big break. Eric Fleming's career got really successful with his part as Gil Favor in the CBS TV show Rawhide, which was on TV from 1959 to 1965. As the tough, good trail boss, Fleming brought seriousness, depth, and quiet leadership to the screen. He quickly became famous, and people loved him for being real, strong, and the feelings he brought to the part. With Fleming's steady work, Rawhide became one of the most popular Western shows of its time. The show not only showed the brave spirit of the Old West, but also dealt with right and wrong problems that people watching could relate to. Fleming's acting set the mood for the whole show, and was really important in helping start the career of a young Clint Eastwood, who played the wild young cowboy, Rowdy Yates. Their acting together, with Fleming being the boss and Eastwood being wild, made the show really fun to watch. During the summer break of 1965, something big happened behind the scenes of the long-running CBS Western show Rawhide. The new boss producer Ben Brady made a big decision to change the show's style and try to get more people watching again, so he did something that would change everything. Brady, who was the sixth producer to be in charge of Rawhide during its time on TV, had to do the hard job of making a once popular show that was getting boring and losing viewers exciting again. He thought that firing a lot of the actors might make the show new and exciting again, so Brady started firing several actors who had been on the show for a long time and were loved by fans. One of them was Eric Fleming, who played the calm and strong trail boss Gil Favor, who had been the main character since the show started in 1959. Along with Fleming, several other actors who had become fan favorites over the years were also suddenly fired. Sheb Wooley, known for his tough charm and playing trail scout Pete Nolan, was one of those fired even though his character was really important as the smart guide and often the wise one on the cattle drive. James Murdoch, who played the nice but often clumsy camp cook helper Mushy, was also let go. His character, who made people laugh and showed human weakness, had made audiences love him for being loyal to Wishbone, the grumpy trail cook played by Paul Bringer. Robert Cabal, who had played the quiet but reliable cowboy Hey Jesus, was also cut from the show. Jesus was one of the few Latino characters on a big TV Western at that time, and his being there had made the show more diverse than the other mostly white actors. Finally, Rocky Shahan, who played the quiet but dependable driver Joe Scarlett, was fired too. Shahan's character, while not often the main part of the story, had been part of the trail crew and helped make the show feel continuous and friendly. Out of all these firings, maybe the most shocking was that of Eric Fleming himself. As the main leader of the show's cattle drives and its dramatic center, Fleming's acting as Gil Favor had been really important to the show's early success. His stern but good leadership, often mixed with times of thinking about himself and making moral choices, had made Rawhide feel real in a way that viewers liked. Fleming was not only a strong actor, but also helped create the show's emotional importance. His sudden firing surprised fans and people in the business. In a later talk with TV Guide, Fleming gave a dry and somewhat angry response about his firing, saying CBS fired me because they were paying me $1 million a year, even though the real amount was closer to $220,000 each year, which was a lot of money for a TV actor back then. What he said showed the problems between TV network money and creative choices. It also showed he was bitter about the decision, maybe made worse by the fact that he had been a visible and steady part of the show for 7 seasons. After Fleming left, the producers made the controversial decision to make Clint Eastwood, who was playing the younger and more wild driver Rowdy Yates, the new trail boss. This change in character relationships was a big story change for the show, but Eastwood himself wasn't sure about the change. In talks later, he would say that it felt uncomfortable taking the lead role, especially with such crazy things happening, and with his friend and co-star Fleming leaving so suddenly. Eastwood knew that part of Rawhide's appeal had been the strong teacher-student relationship between Favor and Yates, and without Fleming's steady presence, that important dramatic tension was gone. Still, Eastwood did the job professionally and led the trail crew through a short 8th season with just 13 episodes. Even though they tried to make the show new and exciting, the changes didn't work. Rawhide kept struggling with ratings, and CBS was no longer sure the show could last, so they decided to cancel the show by the end of 1965. The final blow came from CBS chief William S. Paley, who decided to end the show even before the last few episodes of the season had been shown on TV. Another thing that helped kill the show, according to Eastwood, was a bad decision by the network. He said that Rawhide had been CBS's only successful show on Friday nights, a time when not many people watch TV. To try to use the show's success, CBS executives moved it to Tuesday evenings. Unfortunately, this put Rawhide in direct competition with ABC's Combat, a tough World War II drama starring Rick Jason and Vic Morrow. The show about a group of American soldiers fighting in Europe attracted similar people, mainly men who liked stories about leadership, action, and hard times. This scheduling decision split up the audience and ultimately made Rawhide fail faster. After facing career problems, Eric Fleming showed he was strong and could do different things by coming back with a big supporting role in the 1966 romantic spy comedy, The Glass Bottom Boat, a movie that was a bright showcase for America's sweetheart Doris Day. In the movie, Fleming played a smooth, fancy spy caught up in funny misunderstandings and Cold War spy tricks. His sophisticated presence and great acting stood out among other veteran comedy actors, adding charm and mystery that balanced Day's bubbly personality and the movie's crazy energy. Even though he wasn't the star, Fleming's acting showed his range beyond the Western movies that had made him famous before. At the same time, Fleming made a notable return to TV with guest starring appearances in 3 episodes of NBC's Bonanza, the most popular and widely watched TV show of the mid-1960s. Set in the Nevada frontier, Bonanza followed the Cartwright family, led by Father Ben and his 3 sons, including the wild and beloved Little Joe, played by Michael Landon. Fleming's guest appearances not only brought him back to some of the Western storytelling he had mastered on Rawhide, but they also showed his ability to play complex and often morally unclear characters in a family-friendly format. He worked with director William Whitney, a great action director known for his fast-paced, exciting visual style, which brought added intensity to Fleming's performances. One of Fleming's most powerful appearances came in the episode called Peace Officer, the 18th episode of Bonanza's 7th season. In it, he gave a scary and detailed portrayal of Wes Dunn, a mean lawman whose obsession with control and justice becomes a warning story about the abuse of power. Dunn's fall into cruel leadership is shown with such subtle meanness that Fleming's acting was praised by critics and fans for its psychological complexity. His ability to make even the most ruthless characters seem human showed his depth as an actor and his willingness to explore dark emotional territory. Seeing Fleming's compelling screen presence and strong chemistry with the regular actors, Bonanza creator and executive producer David Dortort invited him back the following season to take on an even more ambitious role. This time Fleming starred as Heber Clausen, a religious and good Mormon rancher in the 2-part episode, The Pursuit. This storyline was groundbreaking for its time as it looked deeply into the sensitive and rarely explored subject of religious persecution in the American West. The story followed Clausen and his family as they tried to live peacefully according to their faith only to face suspicion, prejudice, and ultimately violent hate from neighboring settlers. Fleming gave the character quiet dignity, compassion, and strength, painting a picture of a man whose beliefs are tested by hard times yet remain unshaken. For decades, the tragic and mysterious death of actor Eric Fleming haunted classic TV fans and entertainment historians. Best known for his famous portrayal of trail boss Gil Favor on the hit Western show Rawhide, Fleming was at the height of his fame in the early 1960s. But in 1966, during the filming of a TV movie in a faraway area of Peru, his life was cut short in a horrible and confusing way. Now, after years of guessing, different reports, and a wall of silence around what happened, the full truth behind his death has finally come out. And it's far more upsetting than most fans ever imagined. Eric Fleming had gone to the Huallaga River in Peru to film High Jungle, a two-part TV movie pilot for ABC that was meant to expand his career into more adventurous and exotic roles. On September 28, 1966, while shooting a scene in a canoe with his co-star Nico Minardos, tragedy struck. Reports at the time were unclear and confusing. Fleming had supposedly fallen into the river during a practice or a take and was swept away by the fast-moving current. Despite a big search effort, his body was not found for several days, and when it was, the condition of his body raised troubling questions. For years, the accepted story was that he drowned, a simple, if heartbreaking, accident in a dangerous location. But behind the scenes, many people involved with the production thought there was more to the story. Whispers went around about not having enough safety stuff, poor planning, and even fights among the crew. These suspicions were made worse by the Peruvian authorities' lack of detailed investigation, the little press coverage, and the seeming desire to put the matter to rest quickly. Now, thanks to recently found production memos, interviews with surviving crew members, and access to secret diplomatic communications between the U.S. Embassy and Peruvian officials, a more complete and disturbing picture of Fleming's final hours has come out. First, it's now confirmed that the filmmakers had not gotten proper safety equipment for the canoe scenes, despite being warned about the dangers of the river by local people. Fleming and Minardos were filming without life jackets, and the canoe used was called unstable and wrong for the strength of the current. Furthermore, Fleming had reportedly said he was worried about the scene just days before his death. He told a fellow cast member he didn't feel safe and was unsure about the river's unpredictability. Yet, because of budget problems and the pressure to stay on schedule, the production kept going recklessly. Worse still, a set of photographs taken just before the accident showed that the scene was not being properly watched by the stunt coordinator, and the director insisted on doing multiple takes to get a perfect shot of the canoe going through therapids. Fleming was tired, dehydrated, and reportedly sick from the jungle conditions, a dangerous state for anyone to be in under such physically demanding circumstances. When the canoe flipped over, Minardos was able to swim to shore. Fleming, on the other hand, was pulled under the rapids. According to secret cables sent by the U.S. consulate in Lima, Fleming's body, when found days later, showed signs of severe trauma, including head injuries that didn't match with drowning alone. It is now believed that he was hit by underwater rocks, with tremendous force, leading to a brutal death that was both immediate and could have been prevented if precautions had been taken. Maybe the most shocking revelation is how quickly efforts were made to hide the more disturbing parts of the tragedy. ABC and the producers of High Jungle pushed a story of accidental drowning, downplaying any suggestion of blame or carelessness. They worked closely with local officials to keep details out of the press and rushed to conclude the incident as a natural disaster. Internally, ABC canceled the project, quietly put away the footage, and avoided any public thinking about what went wrong. Crew members were told not to speak to the media. Minardos, deeply traumatized, gave only unclear statements in the years that followed, further adding to the mystery and confusion around Fleming's death. On October 1st, 3 days after the accident, his body was finally found downstream. The news sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and devastated his loved ones. Fleming was only 41 years old at the time of his death. At the time, he was engaged to Lynn Garber, a woman he had planned to marry. His sudden passing left her and many others in deep sadness, and the loss was felt deeply by his fans and colleagues. Following Fleming's death, the production of High Jungle was suddenly stopped. Without its leading man, and out of respect for the tragedy, MGM decided not to complete or release the episode. It remains a lost project known mostly for being connected with Fleming's early death rather than for its creative goals. The incident marked a sad and sudden end to the career of an actor who had overcome great hardship in his early life, including a difficult childhood and severe physical injuries to achieve success in Hollywood. Eric Fleming's death was not only a loss to the entertainment world, but also a painful reminder of the risks actors often take in the name of storytelling, especially in a time when on-location filming lacked today's safety standards. The newly found details reveal not just a tragic accident, but a grim tale of professional oversight, corporate not caring, and a system-wide failure to protect a beloved actor from an obviously preventable fate. Though fans still remember him fondly as the calm, noble Gil Favor. This deeper look into his final moments casts a somber shadow over his legacy. The mystery long buried under half-truths and silence is now solved. But its resolution offers little comfort. Instead, it serves as a warning tale about the hidden cost of fame and the real dangers that often lurk behind the camera.